I wanted to talk about the couple of different archetypes that we can see in stories and in movies and just overall in life. I hope that just gives you a bit of a better understanding of psychology, of how people work, how people think. And yeah, that's going to be my very first episode. So thank you all for coming to Mind Garden. My name is Jasmine Moose. I'm your podcast host. I can call myself a podcaster now. I've been wanting to do that for about 2 years, something like that. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into this with you. I love talking about spirituality, astrology, just overall like improving our lives. I came up with the name Mind Garden because just like plants and like gardens, we have seasons of flourishing. We have periods where we need to like cut the weeds or take stuff out of our, mind or out of our garden. Things we want to plant, new ideas that we need to nurture, new behaviors that we want to improve on. Yeah, I just felt like it was very symbolic and fitting to compare our minds and compare our lives to gardens, and hopefully tending to our gardens well helps us have a beautiful and wonderful and playful and creative life. At least that is my aim for my own life. So yeah, stick around if that's what you're interested in. So one of the first things we're going to do is look at different archetypes. We have so many stories from the old ages, fairy tales, myths, legends, new ones that are being written all of the time. There are certain archetypes that keep coming back, and that's what I want to discuss today, so we can have a better understanding of ourselves and of the world and of the movies and stories that we're watching. So first off, I keep getting so out of breath because I'm nervous. You guys probably can't even tell, but I am so nervous because I don't know. It's like an excited nerve though. Because I want this to be a fun thing, and I just can't believe that I finally started doing it. Anyways, we're getting started. I have my notes over here, so if I'm ever looking over there, it's just because I have notes written down. I'm playful, but I'm taking it seriously as well. I don't want to give you guys just some random brain dump today. So archetypes are universal human patterns. We can see these in mythology, folklore and legends, religion and prophecies, movies, and astrology, for me at least. I know there's so many other ways to categorize things, but I feel like these kind of encapsulated them quite well. So mythology are like the original archetypes, gods, spirits. Folklore and legends are all kinds of cultural variations, but they could go from like fairies or dragons and things like that. So then you also have religion and prophecies. These are more like moral, archetypal frameworks. Movies and pop culture are just our modern day expressions of that. Yeah, not to say that everyone's a cliche, but in a way, it's quite easy to like discern patterns from people. And obviously we have this randomness and chaoticness to us, so it's not gonna like perfectly align to one archetype. It doesn't even have to be one archetype, it can be multiple archetypes. But it's just interesting to see that there are a lot of people and stories that fit into the same brackets, let's say. And then you also have astrology, which can be an internal or external psychological map or framework to see the world through. You can see the planets as different archetypes. You can see star signs as different archetypes. And when you put them together, you might have one really big archetype that's the same, or two that combine into one. So there are so many archetypes. I think there are like 100 plus at least, but you can kind of condense a lot of them into the same few, because around the world there are so many cultures that have archetypes that have the same essence or energy but just have a different name. And I think that archetypes are just recurring roles or energies that humans just recognize instinctively. A lot of ancient cultures used to use archetypes to explain anything mystical in their lives, anything that they didn't understand yet. They also used it as a form of understanding human traits, but by exaggerating the traits. And like I mentioned, you also have archetypes in religion. You can see the messiahs as saviors. You can see apocalypse figures as destroyers, or people that bring in a rebirth of society. But either way, it falls into an archetypical story. Now, I have put together a lot of archetypes. I've been working on this one, and I have put them into 6 categories just to understand the journey of an archetype better. The first category is called identity and action. The question this archetype asks is, who am I and what am I here to do? The 3 archetypes that I fit under this category are the warrior and the hero, warrior, hero, rebel, and the seeker. So we're going to go through all 3. First, the warrior hero. This is an archetype that you can connect to Aries or Mars. Its role is action and courage and conflict. So basically, examples of this are Hercules, who is a hero, obviously. Mulan is a good one in Disney. She finds the courage to defy her father, even the emperor, as a woman by joining the army. She tries to help her father, she tries to help her nation. She's definitely a hero archetype. And in Greek mythology, you can think of Achilles. Achilles, definitely warrior archetype, hero archetype as well. When you think of rebel, obviously Mulan was a rebel as well because she defied certain rules. But a rebel is definitely a bit more disruptive. It wants to challenge authority and it wants to fight for freedom. You can connect to that are like Aquarius or Uranus. People that you can think of in stories are Simba. When he's in his runaway phase, he disrupts the norms. He doesn't want to be king. He leaves his kingdom. He leaves his family. The whole Hakuna Matata part of it is definitely a need to be free, a need to do something else than what society expects from him. You can think of Merida in Brave. She's definitely in Rebel as well. As a myth, you can think of Prometheus. Then we get into the third one, that's part of the category. And this one is the Seeker. And the Seeker is an archetype that's looking for growth. It's looking for meaning in life and in themselves. It's very exploratory, as the word seeker already says. And examples of this are Moana. How Far I Go is literally like one of the lyrics. And Odysseus is a seeker. Basically just people that are thinking of who am I and what am I here to do. They are seeking for higher meaning. They are seeking for an identity. They are seeking for adventure, basically. So they are definitely archetypes that can be connected to Sagittarius or Jupiter energy. Now, on to the second category. The second category is connection and emotion. The question this archetype asks is, how do I relate and belong? The 3 archetypes that I've put under this category are the lover or seductress, the caregiver, and the every person. Most of the people in this category are more easily put into female archetypes, I've noticed when I was looking this up. That obviously doesn't mean that men can't embody this archetype, but I feel like women tend to fall into this archetype more easily, and the stories told are definitely more about women in these archetypes. So first off, lover slash seductress. You can connect the lover or seductress to Venus, to Libra, to Taurus. The role that the seductress or the lover plays is they are the person in the story that is connected to beauty, to attraction, to connection. And examples of this are Aphrodite, Jasmine from Aladdin, and Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Then you have the caregiver role. This is the second archetype, and it's not really an archetype that stories are told about a lot in society. And that kind of coincides with the fact that usually it's someone who's a mother in a story, and I feel like in society we don't really appreciate mothers to the fullest that we could. Mothers are very, very strong. They usually have a lot of burdens on their shoulders. They feel a lot of weight of the world to take care of other people. They are just very connected to nurturing, to providing safety, to nourishing emotional bonds. And in an astrological sense, they are definitely connected to Cancer and to the moon. One of the archetypes that I could think of that was connected to the caregiver was Nanny in Lilo and Stitch. Now, she isn't Lilo's mother, but she's definitely a caregiver archetype. And I thought it was really cool that Disney did include her in one of the stories as like a main character. Any Disney mothers that are present, or any protectors in a story that are present, that's definitely the caregiver. I love the caregiver archetype. I just feel like it's such a loving role, and yeah, it should be appreciated more. I love people who take care of other people. Now, the every person, I don't know if this is like really obvious, but like the every person is definitely a Virgo or connected to Mercury. I don't know, most people know this, but I think it's the case that most of the people have Virgo as their sun sign in the whole world. So that's quite interesting that most of the people in the world statistically are Virgos. Not as in like out of all the 12 signs, it's like 50% Virgos. I just mean like in comparison, Virgos are the most dominant sun sign. So Virgos are, or I mean the every person, let me not generalize on Virgos just yet, but the every person is someone who is relatable. They are community oriented, and they are grounded, and they are connected with just ordinary life. I say community oriented as well because a lot of Virgos are caregivers. Anna in Frozen is definitely in every person as well. She brings that like grounded, humorous fun to the movie. It's just really interesting to see her character development as well. Frozen is definitely one of my favorite movies to decode, so I will do that at one point as well, I think. And yeah, just basically any common villager in myths or stories is an every person. It's not necessarily someone who's the main character in a story, but that doesn't mean that they don't have an important role to play. So then, the third category is power and structure. The question these archetypes ask is, how do I create order and legacy? These three archetypes that fit into this category are like the king or queen or ruler. The second one is the builder, and the third one is the crone or the wise elder, basically. So the first one, the ruler, king, queen, is astrologically connected to like Leo or the sun. It's connected to Capricorn or Saturn. It's a character that is in the spotlight and it wants structure. And this character has a heavy burden as well. They have a lot of responsibilities in their life. They have to lead other people, take care of other people. In a way, it is like a caregiver, but just in a more hierarchical form. Examples of this are Mufasa from The Lion King, the daddy. You have Zeus in Greek mythology, and you have Elsa. So she kind of denies her responsibilities and her queenness, but at the end of it, she definitely steps into that leadership role, and she's the queen as well. Then you have the builder archetype. The builder is connected to Taurus, to earth signs, basically, Taurus, Capricorn. Its role is manifestation, work ethic, and practical creation of legacy. An example of this is Tiana in The Princess and the Frog, and dwarfs from Snow White. Then the third archetype in this category is the crone or the wise elder. I love the crone archetype. I just love anyone that's like a mentor or someone who gives nuggets of wisdom here and there. I find that a very interesting character in movies and films. The crone or the wise elder is definitely connected to Saturn as well, to Capricorn energy. Examples of the crone or the wise elder are Grandmother Willow, and one of the myths is Baba Yaga. This one is one of my favorite categories. I've named it Mind and Expression. And what these archetypes are thinking about as their role is, how do I understand and express reality? The three archetypes that fit this category are the trickster or jester, the sage, and the creator. So as the trickster or jester already says, it's someone in a story that can basically give a little twist or turn to the story. It's someone who can be an agent of chaos, but it can also be someone who adds comedic relief to the story so that not everything is heavy and dense and hard. It might give a sense of lightheartedness so that the character can keep going in their journey. But when it's an agent of chaos, it's definitely someone who warps and twists the truth, or it reveals the truth through disruption. So it might be something that the character needs to hear, but it might not be at the right time or in the right way. It's a character that loves breaking the rules or the rules that society has set up for them. Therefore, it definitely connects to Mercury, to Gemini, to Uranus. It's disruptive. It's connected to any mental processing that other people around the trickster or the jester has, and their own mental processing. And examples of this in stories are the genie in Aladdin. He's definitely a trickster. He's also a creator as well. But yeah, he's definitely a trickster. He loves to play jokes or pranks, or he adds comedic relief to the story as well. Then you also have Loki from, well, it's a myth, but it's also from like the Marvel movies and stuff. He is definitely a trickster. He's also a creator, but he's definitely someone who likes to disrupt the story. He likes to trick the hero, which you could see as Thor. Yeah, just definitely trickster energy and an interesting character. Then the second one in this category is a sage. You can see the sage as Rafiki in The Lion King. The sage is someone who gives wisdom and guidance, and someone who gives long-term perspective, someone who reveals truth. I can't remember if it was Rafiki himself who said remember to Simba, like remember who you are. But basically it definitely was Rafiki who led him to that point to remember who he is. Rafiki definitely gives him a knock on the head to remember who he is. So he is a sage, but he also disrupts through laughter, through making us, the audience, laugh, but also it literally disrupts whatever Simba was stuck in at the moment, and therefore he can find himself again. And this is definitely connected to Sagittarius energy, Jupiter energy, someone who is wanting to give guidance or to teach others, someone who's full of wisdom, definitely like universal wisdom or truths about the universe, and yeah, can pass that along to others. And then the last one in this category is the creator. The creator is connected to Venus or Libra energy, Mercury energy as well. Its role is innovation, crafting an identity or reality, basically. Examples of this I could find quite easily. One of them is Geppetto in Pinocchio. Obviously, he crafts a living thing. He crafts an identity out of Pinocchio. He's an innovator. Geppetto is a very interesting archetype as well, especially when you think that there might be people in the world who are trying to make AI alive. So that's someone who's trying to be in that creator energy. But also I think you can see creators as mothers as well, who are literally creating a human being. Then again, I also kind of fit the genie into this category as well, because the genie literally has magic, and therefore out of his hands are ruled by Mercury, comes magic. Like he creates everything around him. He creates through the wishes of other people, so words are connected to Mercury as well. He makes the world around him either more beautiful or more ugly depending on what he has created. And so that definitely fits into that Venus/Mercury energy. Then the next category is spiritual or transformational archetypes. The question this archetype asks is, how do I transcend and transform? 3 archetypes that fit into these categories are the mystic or dreamer or prophet, whatever you want to call that archetype. The second one is the magician, and the third one is the prophet. This is most definitely in astrology connected to Pisces or Neptune. Its role is connected to intuition, spirituality, transcendence, and some of the storylines are people like Pocahontas. And then any kind of oracles and shamans in myths or legends are connected to this archetype. Then you have the magician archetype. The magician is connected to transformation. It's connected to manifestation, wielding power, and also like wielding a hidden power or knowledge. I think, again, the genie does fit into this archetype, but I found another one that fits. That's the fairy godmother in Cinderella. Then we have the alchemist. The alchemist as an archetype is someone who is also connected to Neptunian or Plutonian energy in astrology. Its role is transformation through death and rebirth. This is very Plutonic. It's also about an inner evolution that happens or a transmutation of self. So examples of this are Beast in Beauty and the Beast. He literally goes through a death and a rebirth by becoming a different person. He has a transmutation of all of the beast-like elements in himself and rebirthing them back into becoming a normal man. And then in mythology, it's quite easy to recognize. It's the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's a death that in the end comes to something good. So not just a death that is destructive for no reason. It's a building crashing down so that something better can be built in its place. It's not just crashing the building and then leaving it there. It's transmutation. So the energy that was there is being transformed in something that's, more productive or more helpful or better. Then we have the last category, which is the life cycle. And the three archetypes that fit into this category are the innocent, the orphan, and the shadow. The question that this archetype asks is, how do I live life as a human? So not just like, who am I, or who is this person, or how am I taking care of them, but literally just how to live. The innocent is someone who's connected to optimism or purity, trust. It's a character or archetype that loves experiencing life with an openness. They have no guards, no barriers, no protections. They are open to the world, innocent to anything bad that could happen, and therefore quite vulnerable. You can think of Elsa in Frozen as well. Like, she is someone who doesn't realize that it's weird to get married to someone they've just met, and she has consequences because of that. She is so open and so pure and so wide-eyed for adventure that she forgets to look at what the dangers might be. Another example of that is some Disney princesses, Aurora, Snow White, and also in Greek mythology, Persephone before she descends. You can call the innocent the maiden as well. You have a lot of stories about women coming of age cycles, and it's basically the maiden, the mother, and then the crone. The innocent is kind of the maiden as well. It's someone who doesn't realize in what way she can be tricked or deceived or be taken advantage of, basically. So I think it's a good one for a lot of women to understand and to learn more about, because I think if you think of a life cycle, most women go through that maiden phase as well. Then the second one in this category is the orphan. The orphan is a very interesting archetype to me as well. Its role is one of resilience. It shows that it can overcome hardships. It is an independent archetype. It's one that usually has quite a solo kind of story, and it has a lot of self-discovery through adversity. So you can think of characters like Tarzan, who ends up alone and has to figure out his whole way, Quasimodo. And another one I thought of was Harry Potter. The orphan is connected to Scorpio Plutonic energy as well, because it has that same thing of like adversity and then gaining resilience through that. Then this last category or last archetype is the shadow archetype. This archetype can be very misunderstood. You have characters that are in the shadow archetype that eventually, become better or become good. But you also have the shadow archetypes that are just evil, and that's what they are, and that's it. Sometimes it's connected to rebirth, so therefore transformation as well. But it definitely has this like dark shadow, negative energy to it. So one of the people that I found in Disney is Maleficent. Then you have Scar in The Lion King. I think he's a very good example of someone who's gone so far in their own shadow traits that they have, for the sake of the story, become an evil player in that story. They are living in their shadow. They are living in their jealousy. They are living in their leeching of others. You also have Hades, which is a very easy one in mythology. He's the king of the underworld, so he's definitely connected to death, and he is not necessarily a person that gets a redemption arc. Some stories or some retellings of the mythology, he's not actually evil, he's just the person that rules the underworld. I think it's interesting to look at any of these archetypes and see which one resonates with you most right now, which favorite movie or Disney movie you had as a child, and why you relate to that now, and why you felt so connected to it at the time, and which part of that archetypical story shows up in your life. If you are a mother, how do you fit into that caregiver role? How do you connect to your maiden side still? Which people bring out the maiden in you? And is it a positive way of like looking and seeing the world bright-eyed, or is it one that might need more protection or barriers or boundaries? I think as people, we learn through hearing stories, we learn through these archetypes, we learn through watching people's in movies or reading about people in books, so that we can all grow more easily and we can take the lessons that they have learned and apply it to our own lives. We can foresee any dangers, we can adapt our own personalities and identities so that we might not fall into certain traps that these characters or archetypes did fall into. It's also a good thing to think of which archetype you actually detest and which one you absolutely would not want to be related to, and asking yourself why that is. Why is that character triggering you, or why is it something that you actually do not want to be as or be similar as? It shows which other sides of you have nurtured more. It might show which parts of you might need more love or more understanding if you don't accept that part of yourself. I hope this podcast gave you some insight into these archetypes and into your life, and I hope it helped you. And I want to thank you so much for listening to my first episode. This won't necessarily be the setup for all of my episodes, because I want to kind of see and experiment with what I want to do with this podcast, but this is definitely the first episode that I felt drawn to make. I hope you all have a lovely evening, afternoon, day, and that I'll see you in my next one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.